why I support him the way I do. I typically do not get into elections. I typically do not get into someone else's election. But I'll say this about Scott. I can text him, I can call him, and he calls me or texts me back. I can do the same to our senators, to our previous congressmen. It was very rare that I ever got a response. When I did get a response about an issue that the Eastern Shore needed, it was usually, we'll write a letter. We'll get together and we'll write a letter. Almost like a king saying, I'm going to do a decree and it's going to be let it be said, let it be done. But most of the time the letter probably fell on a bureaucrat's office, on a desk, and probably was used with the way most of us with letters come, we look at it and go, okay, and you throw it away. Well, I can honestly say that on issues, I've dealt with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, I've dealt with the Corps of Engineers, on all these issues, I've been able to call Scott. Scott's been able to find out who he needs to talk to, because that's the big issue, find out who he needs to talk to. Then he goes to their office, or he calls them up, and gives my concern directly to them. That's like the MasterCard commercial is priceless. I can't get into the DC bureaucracy. I don't know who to call. We don't know who to call. But I will say when I've called Scott, he's figured out who to talk to and is taking care of the issue. It doesn't always go my way. I get that. I'm not asking him to fix everything, but at least my concern, and I'll say our concerns, get heard. And that's all I can ask. That's all I can ask. So it's with extreme pleasure that I'm going to introduce Scott Taylor.
Well, good evening. Let's do that again. Good evening. All right. Can we please give a great round of applause for Delegate Bloxham? Please. I can tell you that I had the honor of serving with him in the House of Delegates up in the capital, Richmond, and he absolutely brings your interests up there and fights for you. There is no question about it. No question. No question. And not only does he do that, but he's respected up there. People want to help out, and he builds relationships. But let me tell you something. In politics, relationships matter. Relationships matter everywhere, of course. Some of you might be, relationships matter in your own house, right? Relationships matter everywhere. And I can tell you that Delegate Bloxham, not only does he fight for the shore, not only does he bring the issues to bear up in Richmond, but he builds relationships which enables him to be impactful for the shore and get things done. And yeah, he doesn't hesitate at all to text me to say, hey, we need help with this. Obviously, the shore has a lot of issues that are in the federal government's purview. And I can always, and it goes both ways. It's not just him texting me, but I can text him and ask for help or what his opinion is on what direction I should be moving to be most impactful for the Eastern Shore. And he's there, and he's knowledgeable, and he knows the issues. You all know him. So I got to tell you, you have a fantastic delegate in Delegate Bloxham. And I hope next year you send him back up to Richmond. No question. Now, there are a couple folks that I just want to recognize who were elected. I will say that I heard tell that Mayor Uker from Tangier was going to be coming here, but I also heard that the winds are pretty bad, so maybe he had to make a little detour and turn back. But I love Tangier. I love Tangier. And a little secret, in 2010, I ran in the primary. I only won one precinct. Only one. Tangier Island. Tangier is my stronghold. So I love Tangier, and it was awesome for me to be able to go to Tangier this year and tell them that finally, after years of dealing with the federal government, that their jetty was going to get built to help with their erosion problem. So, Mayor Leonard from Chincoteague is here. Can we give him a round of applause? Where's Mayor Leonard? He was here. He might have already left, but I definitely remember shaking his hand because he's got a strong grip. Real strong grip. Paul Bewley, Accomack County Board of Supervisors. Where you at? There he is. Love the hat, sir. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. And then, of course, the Spencer Morgan. Where's Spencer Morgan? There you are. I told Spencer we walked in together, and everywhere I go now, I have a Democrat tracker, right? Everywhere I go, it's super creepy. But we're Facebook Live right now. Every time I go somewhere and I speak, we put it out there. I don't say anything that I'm worried about, getting a tracker videotaping you, so they could save money and not be so creepy and follow me and you everywhere. And Spencer, he might end up on a national ad attacking me because he walked in with me when there was a Democrat tracker. But let me say this. I'm very, very appreciative of all of you being here tonight, because there's nothing that you can give that's more sacred than your time. So the fact that you're here tonight, I'm just humbled by it. I really am. Can we give yourselves a round of applause, please? It is the honor of my life to serve this district. The honor of my life. I grew up not too far from here. Not too far from here. Grew up with a single mother, 4 kids in the house, working on the farm. I just told the story to this table a little earlier. Obviously, the poultry industry is very big here on the shore in the Delmarva Peninsula. And now, when they remove all those chickens, there's a the crust, if you will, that's come there that you got to clean up. And they use machines now, the bobcats. Well, they used to use kids. So I have shoveled a lot of chicken poop in my life. I promise you. And then I also worked at the Old Mill Crab House. Some of you may have been there before, the Old Mill Crab House. So Delmarva Peninsula is always on my mind. And some of you have heard me say this before. I remember as a young kid who I didn't even know anything about politics. But I remember there was a governor of Maryland. You guys remember that guy, William Donald Schaefer? And what I do remember in my mind was he called the Eastern Shore of Maryland the outhouse of Maryland. So, as you can imagine, some good old boys took a truckload of outhouses and put it right on the governor's lawn. Right? So I'll always remember that. You can bet that I will be here. I'll be coming back here, and I don't have that view of the shore at all for Virginia. In fact, I'm very proud to represent the Eastern Shore of Virginia. Very, very proud. Absolutely. So I want to talk about a couple things that we've done over the past couple of years, because I think it's important, right? Your taxpayer dollars have invested in me. You paid for me to do this. And you should know. You should know what we've accomplished together, what we've done when you sent me to Washington to represent you. So I will tell you right off the get-go, we looked at what committees that I could be on to be impactful for this district. And I sat down with the Speaker of the House before I was even there, and he says, "What committees do you want to be on?" I imagine you'll be on House Armed Services, because of your background, your military background in your district, which, by the way, we have more military and veterans than any district in the nation. Any. 8 major military installations. We shoot rockets into space, right here. We have the Navy, we have the Air Force, we have the Army, we have everything, Coast Guard. So I looked at the Speaker and I said, "No, sir, I would like to be on appropriations." And he looked at me and he said, "No, you're not going to be on appropriations. Freshmen are not on appropriations." And why is appropriations important for us and for this area? Because that's the money. Because 42 to 43% of our economy in this district is federal spending. Period. So it's important for not just Virginia, but certainly this district to have a seat at the table of where the money is. And I knew that I could be impactful with the other committees that authorize things, because they authorize it, they still need to get money. So I'm proud to tell you that I am the first Virginian in the history of Virginia to be appointed to the Appropriations Committee right out of the gate. The first one. And we'll get into how that's helpful in a second. But I also told you that I was going to work on rebuilding our military. That's what I told you 2 years ago. And I can tell you that we have approved and passed proper appropriate spending for the military that needed a cash injection because of maintenance and readiness and training, which were lapsing for our military after 17 years of war. And this district, not just the soldiers and the sailors and the Marines, but our families have really bore the burden of sacrifice for this country for the last 17 years. So it was very important that we did that. We passed that. We passed the largest pay raise for the military in almost a decade. We're on the path to rebuilding our military. I told you I would work on that, and that's exactly what I did. I told you that I would take care of our veterans, that I would work on issues to make sure that our veterans and their health care was taken care of. That's exactly what I've done. I'm proud to tell you, well, first let me say this. 98% of bills that are introduced, 98% of them don't pass into law, don't make it into law. And I also want to say this because 2 years ago I told you I would work across the aisle with Democrats or whomever to get things done for this district and for this nation. And every single bill that I have introduced, every one has a Democrat co-sponsor. Every one. Now, some are harder than others to get the Democrats on board, but I've managed to do that. So by nature, my bills are bipartisan. But what I will tell you is, again, 98% of bills do not become law. But I'm proud to tell you that the President of the United States has already signed one of my bills to hold senior executives at the VA accountable. Already in law. We just got there. We just got there. We already have a law. And it's a good one. And it's one that deals with accountability at the VA, which is important to our district, which just happens to have the fastest growing veteran population in the nation. Female veterans, Iraq veterans, Afghanistan veterans. Our district will have 40% more veterans fall into the system in the next decade, demanding 60% more care with the VA. One of the other things that we've done is championing a new hospital, outpatient hospital for veterans, because Congress authorized it years ago, but no one was championing it. And there needed to be another tweak in Congress for the lease. So I can tell you that 63% of the veterans who use the Hampton facility, the hospital, they live here on the shore and on the south side. So it's far, right? And we're already over capacity. So we have pushed and pushed since day one, trying to get that hospital built. And we've had the decision maker in my office about 7 times in the past year and a half. They know we're calling, they know what we're calling for, they know we're putting pressure on them. Because as a congressman, on one hand, I can make a phone call, somebody's going to answer it. I can apply pressure, I can shine light on things. On the other hand, I'm one of 435 people, right? So you have to figure out the parameters and how you can be impactful for every single problem set with your office, and that's what we do. I want to solve problems, I want to help people, I want to get things done. So that what I'm saying to you is, in the next couple months, the GSA will announce, because, quite frankly, because of my team and the pressure that we've applied to them, they will announce a competitive bid for that hospital to be built on the south side. Period. It's going to get built. Now, the cities of Chesapeake and Virginia Beach, they'll fight it out. Now, Virginia Beach is in my district, so of course I'd like it to be there. But the priority is getting the thing done. Period. I also told you 2 years that I would work on the economy, that I would vote in ways that set the conditions for the economy to thrive. Nationally, this economy, there are more jobs out there than people looking for jobs. The economy is doing very well. This area of the economy is doing well as compared to what it was. So we have done exactly that. Now let's talk about the shore for a second. And I know the mayor probably left because he's got a little dry. But where's Deborah, by the way? Where's Deborah? Where is Deborah? Y'all know Deborah? Y'all know Deborah on the shore, our girl on the shore? Everyone knows Deborah. She does a great job. My whole team is here. Listen, I don't do anything without my team. They're fantastic. They have case solved. They've solved over 1,400 personal cases for people. Cases closed for Social Security, for disability, navigating the federal government, all those things. They do a rock star job, and I'm only good because they're good. So can I give my team a round of applause too, please? So clearly the shore has some unique challenges, and a lot of it has to do with the federal government, right? When you look at Chincoteague, when you look at moving the beach, when you're looking at Wallops Island to try to create economic impact there, but also keep the culture and keep the way of life that people are used to and they want to maintain. Because I'm on appropriations, we can put language in that, like I said, 98% of bills don't get passed, but 12 bills fund the government, 12 of them. And those bills will go through. So, for example, up in Chincoteague, we looked at Wallops Island, and we lost. This came about just before I got into office, but there was an unmanned vehicle program for the Navy. It's called the Triton program. And they looked at Wallops, they looked at the shore, they looked at Florida, and we ended up losing. The training areas are the same. They do roughly the same. They're fine. It was the fact that there wasn't adequate housing and there wasn't daycare for some of these agencies. So the military, when they move assets, they're looking at everything, right? So we knew we had to help in that way. So what we did was we put language in the appropriations bill after talking to the folks up in Chicotee, the agencies, and there's a little bit of Navy, a little bit of Coast Guard, a little bit of NOAA, and others as well, NASA. So, but they needed child daycare. They also had some empty buildings. So we put language in appropriations that allows them to have public-private partnerships using the empty buildings, partnering with the private sector, but also as agencies collaborating so they can come together and make it happen. And we got that put into the appropriations language. It is now law. And the captain that's up there is already working on it. He's already doing it. So the next time the Navy wants to put assets, and I can tell you right now, whether you're talking about space, unmanned vehicles in the air or the sea, there's a lot of opportunity for us on the shore to be able to get those assets here. And it's my job to make sure that they're aware of how to do it and that I'm working for you up there. So we got that passed. He's working on that. So the next time we have something, we're gonna try to bring him there. Absolutely. Great job. We've also got the mayors, because as you guys know, and you guys live there, your mayor might be one of 30. Your mayor might be the mayor of 500, might be the mayor of 75. The reality is, by themselves, there's not a lot of political clout there at the state level with Delegate Bloxham or even at the U.S. level. But all together, working together and prioritizing things like sewer, things like broadband, you got a lot more power, right? So we're trying to, when we've had that, Deborah, thanks to Deborah, again, my team, has put the majority of the mayors in a room to get together to try to figure out and prioritize what's best for the shore. And then they can help me help you. Same thing with Delegate Bloxham. We're going to try to work in collaboration with what he's doing at the state level so that I'm doing the same thing or at least aiding him from the federal side. We'll do whatever we can. I'll never forget the shore. I want to make sure that you guys are taken care of. Absolutely. So those are some of the, actually I gotta tell you one more thing. Those three areas I told you I was going to work on, you have the military, the veterans, and the economy, and things like that. Those are things that we work on most of the time. But there are many things that come to my desk that I work on that are outside those parameters. And I want to tell you a quick story because just over a year ago, I get this text message, and they said, "Hey, Congressman Taylor, can you meet with this family? Because this family, they're distraught. They'd like to meet with you." And I said, "Well, I have a flight to Washington that morning. Can they meet me early? I'll meet with them." So I meet with this family, and I knew after talking to them for just a couple minutes, in my gut and in my heart, that they were going to get some really bad news soon. Now, what it was the Ashanti Billy, her family. So Ashanti Billy was a young 19-year-old African-American girl who was abducted off the Little Creek Naval Base. And when the family met with me, they were about a week and a half into their abduction. They had found her cell phone, they had found her car, but the family felt like they weren't being communicated to. They felt like someone wasn't really driving the train to try to bring resources to bear to find her. So I canceled my flight, and we called the FBI, we called NCIS, we called Virginia Beach Police, we called Norfolk Police to try to bring them together. 2 hours later, the FBI took over the investigation, which brought more resources to bear. Unfortunately, and many of you may know this story, her body was found in North Carolina. So outside of Virginia, she was murdered. So afterwards, we were like, what can I do to help with this issue? And upon a little more research, it was clear that there are a lot of missing adults around the country. So we met with the family, we worked with them. And how many of y'all familiar with the Amber Alert? Amber Alert, 18 and below. There's a Silver Alert, that's 65 and up. Nothing between 19 and 64. Ashanti was 19. So after looking at it, and obviously you have to be careful because people have their own individual liberties as adults. Sometimes the people don't want to be found as adults. Some of you might not want to be found as adults. But, so we had to make sure that your rights were protected, but also give law enforcement a tool that allowed them to say, okay, this person has been taken against their will. This person is mentally ill. This person is in danger. Now I can tell you just over a month ago, Virginia Beach was asking for the public's help because there was a lady who was in her 50s who was missing and they thought she was in danger. And what those alerts do is they bring telecommunications and broadcasts together with the police, and then all of our social medias, of course, to spread the word, bring attention and find these people and save their lives. So we worked on this for like a year. As I told you, legislation is very tough. It's tough. You have to shepherd it through the process, through all the committees and all the hearings and stuff like that. It's a little different at the state level with Delegate Bloxham, but at the U.S. level, you still have the egos and insecurities, personalities. You just got 5 times more of them, right? It's much bigger. So I'm proud to tell you that 1 year to the day that family came in my office asking for help, 1 year to the day, we passed the Ashanti Alert Act through the House of Representatives. And her family was there, and it was very emotional and fantastic. And I will tell you that while I work on all the national security and military issues and foreign policy and all the other things, that's probably the best thing I'm going to do, because it will save lives 100%. And we've already identified a couple senators. They're working on it. We're going to get it to the president's desk as soon as possible so that we can start saving lives. All right. So now to the campaign. You guys see any ads, any commercials? Maybe a couple. Over $5 million has been spent against little old me. I think it's up to like 4 times the amount spent against someone in this district than ever before. It's incredible. It's crazy. What's that? Me? Little old me? It's pretty nasty. But I promise you that we will finish this thing strong. Absolutely. Our numbers are good, but it's I want to ask all of you. I want to ask your help. We need your help. Our biggest threat is apathy. That's our biggest threat. People not showing up. The world is run by those who show up, and in democracies, it's run by the majority of the people who show up. So it's extremely important that you do come there, that you bring everyone you know, out to vote on the 6th. There's no question about it. They're motivated, and they have a lot of money. But I don't think any of you probably want Nancy Pelosi to be the Speaker of the House. I don't think that any of you want Adam Schiff to be the leader of the Intelligence Committee. I don't think that anybody wants Maxine Waters to run the Financial Committee for the United States of America. I don't think that, and listen, and my opponent she's a very nice person. She's an accomplished woman. I respect all those things. But the reality is she voted for me 2 times, less than 2 years ago, in the Republican primary and the general election, when all of my policies were all known. Everything, from health care to everything was known. All of you knew it, and you voted. She knew that stuff. And then when she was asked at her own campaign kickoff, well, why you instead of him? She couldn't, 2 takes, could not answer the question. We want to help people. We want to solve problems. We want to have a seat at the table in the direction of this nation. That's why I'm running for re-election. That's why I'm running for re-election. So I really, truly appreciate all you guys being here tonight. I really do. There's nothing that's more sacred than your time. But I do need your help. Our work is not done. We have a lot of work to do, not just now to Tuesday, but even and beyond. I want to represent this district. I want to continue to represent the Shore, a place that I truly love and learn the value of hard work that has stayed with me throughout my whole life. I mean, who would have thought somebody from the Delmarva Peninsula would be a U.S. Navy SEAL, or would be in the House of Delegates, well, Bloxham has done, or a U.S. Congressman, but honestly raised by a single mother, and I had the blessing of having a big brother. You guys know what Big Brothers Big Sisters is? The mentorship program. When I was 12 years old, I was already in trouble with the law, right? And my mother was working at the hospital in Salisbury. You guys, some of y'all probably been there before. And we had I had a lot of free time on my hands, and I was in a lot of trouble. But it was because she signed me up for Big Brothers and Big Sisters. And my big brother, Andy, who's 79 now, who's really like my father, changed the trajectory of my life. Changed it. Didn't just teach me everything from having a napkin in my lap at the dinner table with stock options, but he instilled self-worth in me and confidence that enabled me to leave the Shore and become a Navy SEAL and become a Virginia delegate and become a U.S. Congressman. Your U.S. Congressman. So I'm asking for your vote November 6th. Thank you guys very much. God bless you.